Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be a new what if. This is going to be what if Naruto had Ultra Instinct. So, that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you do like the what if, and without further ado, that short intro aside, let's just jump right into exactly how Naruto is going to get this power, because, for one thing, Naruto is much weaker than Goku was at, most points in Dragon Ball Z. Any point of Naruto was probably weaker than, Saiyan Saga Vegeta kind of stuff. So, that makes it a pretty big difference considering they get millions, billions, however many times stronger they get from that point. However, whatever the number you want to throw out there is, they get much more powerful. And even Goku's body was, severely, he almost died from just using the power at all. So, with that, we're just gonna, nerf it, I guess, a little bit. It still drains, but it's gonna be, toned down a little bit, just because he wouldn't be able to survive it. He'd activate it once and just immediately die, if it was, how the Dragon Ball version was. So, this also comes with one other thing, is this is going to be, Naruto's version, I guess, of Ultra Instinct. It's the exact same thing, literally the exact same thing, but it's just a different version of it. And we'll say it's a little bit weaker, just because, Naruto got, a billion times multiplier onto his base. He'd kind of be OP. So, with this being said, Naruto would be born, as you'd expect, and his eyes would briefly flare to a silver color before immediately going back to their, original color, and Naruto from this literally falls asleep. He just goes unconscious and doesn't wake up until way later on. The Nine-Tails attack had already happened, Minato and Kuchina are already dead, and he wakes up in the hospital after Hiruzen had brought him there. So, nobody really, knows why Naruto was sleeping through all that, they don't really question it, but Naruto also has the Nine-Tails sealed inside of him because Minato decided to do that as well. So, Naruto's childhood life would be pretty normal. He wouldn't really have too many different things going on, and occasionally, this is a difference between this what if and the actual original series, is that Hiruzen trains Naruto ever since the age of 6 or 7. He begins training Naruto on just basic things, and Naruto is able to pretty quickly master them because of his massive reserves of chakra, and the fact that he, is a Naruto Uzumaki. He can master things pretty easily, and he actually does so. He masters many different techniques, and eventually Hiruzen brings up an interesting point to Naruto. This being moving without actually thinking about it. This is what many really powerful ninja did, and how they became so strong. They tried to master this, but almost none have actually been able to activate Ultra Instinct. We're going to say nobody in the past has been able to do it, but, moving on your, own without actually having to think about it would just enhance your combat ability, so it's one of those things that gets talked about quite a bit. So Hiruzen brings this up to Naruto, and Naruto tries actually using this, trying to actually do this, and what he ends up, actually being able to do is activating Ultra Instinct, almost completely naturally because of how the way Naruto was born. He's born with, the ability to use it. So when he tries to activate it, it actually works. At this point, Naruto is much stronger than his baby self, so we're going to say it's the first time Goku activated Ultra Instinct. He can stay in it for maybe a minute, 2, maybe even 3. But the second he actually gets tired, he literally just falls over unconscious for days. And Naruto's body actually gets stronger from actually being able to do this. Because how the human body works, or how bodies in general work, is how they would adapt and try to overcome new opposition. And because of how just taxing using Ultra Instinct is, it makes Naruto's body naturally stronger because it's trying to acclimate for that difference in strength. So Naruto's physical body would get stronger from this, and pretty much once or twice a week, Naruto would activate Ultra Instinct and try to stay in it for as long as possible. As the years went by, Naruto's body would, begin, acquiring the different like power and, you know, different kind of stuff like that it would need to actually be able to use Ultra Instinct. So by the time Naruto was the age of 12, not only did he enter the academy, he also has shadow clones and many different techniques. He has a few different masteries over, like, you know, chakra changes and stuff like that because of Hiruzen training him, but he can activate Ultra Instinct and keep it activated for probably about 20 minutes. It's still massively taxing on Naruto's body, but his durability and like the strength of his actual body has increased massively. Naruto is probably the most physically powerful person in the entire village just from this, and Naruto is the age of 12. So yeah, that includes Might Guy, unless he activates like the 8th gate, but like up to like 6-7 gates, Naruto in like base form is able to keep up with him in terms of like physical strength. Not necessarily speed. It wouldn't really increase Naruto's speed too much, it would just increase his durability and strength overall. So Naruto obviously is really fast at this point. He's massive, he's by far the strongest Genin, and because of the different like mind state that Naruto has, because of the change of him like growing up training with Hiruzen, Naruto would actually have been focused on his studies as well, and he would graduate as the Rookie of the Year when he did eventually, you know, graduate. So this might change up the teams a little bit. So how exactly are the teams going to be? So Sasuke would still be placed on the same team as Naruto with Kakashi, just because, you know, Kakashi has the Sharingan, Naruto has the Nine Tails, Kakashi has the Sharingan, which will help Sasuke, but the Sharingan is known to be able to control the Nine Tails, so they place them both on that team. Now, who is going to be their last member? You might be thinking, oh, well, why not just keep it the same, because all of the other teams are like, you know, Chikusho and different, you know, things like that. They're like, they're supposed to be like that because it helps the team overall. So I'm going to say somebody else gets placed on the team, and this is actually Sakura. I apparently forgot how to speak. I meant Hinata, and then Sakura was going to replace them, just because whatever, you get what I'm trying to say. So it is Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke on a team. So one other interesting thing that you might want to, you know, hear about or know is that Naruto did end up sparring with Sasuke, and they have their little like bouts every once in a while, along with like the fact that they fought at the beginning and end of the academy. Now, how did these fights go? Well, at the beginning, Naruto could barely activate Ultra Instinct, but his physical body was still massively stronger than Sasuke's was, because he's had around a year of trying to activate Ultra Instinct at that point, so he was already massively stronger than pretty much any, like, probably Chunin at that point. I wouldn't say he's, you know, Jonin level, but he was pretty freaking strong. So he easily decimated Sasuke both times, because in the second round, Naruto, like I was saying, in base form, is around like 7th gate guy levels in terms of strength, and I'll say in speed, he's around like, probably 5th gate, I'd say maybe 4th. Well, we'll just say he's like as fast as Kakashi while he's in base, and he's as strong as like 7th gate guy, so yeah. With this, you know, Sasuke would have massive amounts of like anger towards Naruto just because of how much Naruto outclassed and outshined him. So he would get insanely like mad, and he's been training his absolute life out for like ever since he entered the academy, and he still was never able to catch up to Naruto. Not only had Sasuke been able to activate the Sharingan while he was in the academy, but he also learn some different lightning release jutsu, because he ended up going to different Jonin masters in, like, you know, early, like before he was actually on their team. He went and tried to train with like Kakashi or Hiruzen, or maybe before, like, because when they first entered the academy, the Uchiha massacre hadn't actually happened yet, so Sasuke wasn't his like emo boy. He might have actually ended up getting more training from Fugaku and Itachi, as, you know, that's kind of how it would have worked. But obviously, eventually, Itachi just would have massacred the clan, and, you know, things like that would have happened. So, now they wait hours, and Kakashi does eventually arrive, and he takes him up to the roof, and they do their introductions. Naruto's would be a little bit different. He still does want to become the Hokage, but he's not as hated by the village. So he doesn't have that, like, same, like, I need to be Hokage so the villagers will, like, respect and, like, you know, kind of stuff like that. No, he just wants to become the Hokage so he can help. He wants to be able to protect everybody, and being the Hokage would massively help that. So Kakashi's like, oh, not bad. Sasuke's would be the same, except at the end he also adds that he needs to surpass a certain somebody as well, and Hinata's would just be that she wants to become a very strong kunoichi. So they end that, and Kakashi tells him don't eat breakfast and meet him in this training field the next day. So they do that. They meet him in the morning, and another time, like 2 hours later, Kakashi would eventually show up, and he would explain to them what the bell test is, saying that, okay, so 3 of you, 2 bells, only 2 of you can get the bells, and the other one goes back to the academy. So all of them dart into the forest, including Naruto. Naruto's not too cocky with his abilities. He probably knows that he can, you know, beat Kakashi, but at the same time, he's massively more intelligent than he was in the original, original series. Like, he's, like, more book smart than Sakura and more battle smart than Sasuke at this point. So he figures that there might be some ulterior motive to what Kakashi is trying to do. Like, 2 bells on 4-person squads? Like, that doesn't make sense. He's trying to think about where he's like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So he decides to go make some shadow clones, and each of them goes to the other 2, you know, Sasuke and Hinata, and he begins talking with them and trying to form a conclusion on what is going to happen, and they all decide, like, you know, together that they need to use teamwork. So all of the shadow clones would dispel, and the original Naruto gets these memories and knows what their plan actually was. Naruto, being the first to charge out of the forest towards Kakashi, he just begins running towards him. And remember what I said, Naruto's using full speed right, so he's about as fast as, like, Kakashi. So he sprints across the field towards him, and Kakashi immediately lifts up his headband. Naruto is going way too fucking fast for him, and he is not gonna be able to do anything with a book in his hand and a Sharingan deactivated. So, lifting his headband or pulling it down, I can't even remember what he does. He would then begin fighting Naruto in taijutsu, and Naruto is physically a complete beast at this point. Naruto's not even in Ultra Instinct yet, but he's much more, like, physically powerful than Kakashi was. Kakashi can match his speed, and he has, like, more experience and more techniques that he can use, but if Naruto lands a really, like, decisive blow, it would be like getting hit by a full power punch from Tsunade, and that would kill you. So you do not want to get punched by Naruto at this point. So Kakashi ends up backing Naruto into a corner, using, you know, his vast arsenal of jutsu, and he ends up putting Naruto in this corner like I just said. And this is where Kakashi briefly drops his guard. He begins trying to, like, set up some kind of jutsu to be able to trap Naruto now, and this is what Naruto was hoping for. Hinata jumps out of the bush now, right next to both of them, and ends up using 8 trigrams, 32 palms on Kakashi, closing many of his chakra points, before, you know, backing away, and Sasuke jumps out of the foliage next to him, and he begins using a massive fireball. This isn't like a normal fireball, it is, like, absolutely massive. Like, you know how, like, when Madara used a fireball, it was like, it took, like, many water-style users to actually be able to just counter it? It's kinda like that. Not as powerful. We'll say it's about half as big, but we'll say he matches up against Itachi in being able to use fire style at this point. So, with this actually being a thing, Kakashi has no choice but to substitute himself out. He cannot get hit by that, otherwise that would immediately just incinerate him. He would die. But as he tries to substitute out, he notices something very interesting. He can't put his hands up to make any jutsu signs or throw a smoke bomb down or do anything like that, because he is being held down by Naruto, who is just standing right behind him, now with his hair completely white, with his eyes being a very interesting hint of silver with this massive amount of heat just like oozing off of Naruto. Like where Naruto is touching Kakashi, it is leaving like third-degree burns on Kakashi's arms, and he cannot budge even the littlest amount. He tries moving his arms, like using his full strength, and Naruto doesn't even like twitch. His arm doesn't even move in the slightest bit as the fireball just completely wrecks down on Kakashi and Naruto, who are both standing there. So both of them are revealed, Kakashi unconscious in the, pile of rubble, with Naruto standing behind him, his clothes a little bit singed, but other than that, completely fine. Now, Naruto he's trying to figure out if they went maybe a little bit too far. He brings Kakashi to the hospital, and after a few hours of being unconscious, he wakes up and gets reminded of what just happened, and he ends up passing both of them just because of how massively overpowered Naruto was, and the fact that they did use pretty good teamwork. So they begin all of their D rank missions, and they go by pretty easily. They don't really have to do that much for them, till eventually they decide, okay, this is getting way too boring, I want a higher ranking mission, and they go to Hiruzen about it. He decides to give him a C rank mission, seeing how they actually defeated Kakashi in the bell test, and decides to give them a C rank mission to guide a bridge builder back to, build a bridge, makes sense. So they all meet at the gate the next day, this being obviously Hinata, Sasuke, Naruto, and Kakashi arrives soon after, and they begin leaving the village to go to the hidden... What even is the village? Is it the... No, it's not the Hidden Rain. I can't remember. What even... I don't remember. I'll look it up, but that is where I'm going to be leaving this part off. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next part, if I decide to record it.